Greetings from Tokyo. Oops, let's see here. There we go. Okay. Greetings from Tokyo. This is Daisuke, and we will begin momentarily. All right. How's everyone doing, by the way? Great. Let's see. Oops, excuse me. Kubrick Lover 1972 is here. Hello. 5 bags of popcorn. Hello. Zyrother's here. Great. It's nice to see everyone. Philosophical Moon Powder. Hello. Great question. By the way, that was the question got a lot of great responses. So thank you so much for that. Let's see here. Bap Joe, hello. You're say watching from Orange County, California. So hello. I hope you're well. Thanks very much for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Is the sound okay? I usually do this without microphone because of lots of issues that have erupted. Great. Thank you so much. Seth is here. Hello, Daisuke and friends. Looking forward to hearing everyone's take on this film. It made me think a lot about Pierce Brosnan. I hope he can play Bond again one day, even if in a commercial. Yes, we will talk about this. This is the topic. There we go. Sorry, it's off center. So this is the very I don't know if is controversial an improper word to use to describe this film. I'm not sure. It's a bit of it's an interesting one. So I go back and forth on this, and so I'm pretty I'm in a pretty say a slightly different place every time I watch it, to be perfectly honest, because I'll save those comments with more specificity as we start the live chat or the discussion in due course. So thanks very much, Seth. It's great to hear from you, and we will be in touch. Zach Van Aanhout is here. Hello, Zach. And let's see, the Duke of Funk is here as well. Erwin is here. Hello, Jared is here. Into Gray, Timothy. Oh, good. Seth Walsh says Madonna did her best fembot impersonation for the theme song. Yes, so Madonna does the theme song, and she also makes an appearance, as we know. So, and Wilder's here. Timothy says, one of my absolute faves right here. Oh, great. We'll look forward to the comments. It's wonderful, fantastic, my friend. And then Zyrother says, the title sequence is great. The song is great. They are not great together. Oh, that's an interesting comment. Very interesting. Harry Evangelion. Hello, everyone. First time I've ever made it in time. Oh, great. Thank you so much, Harry. Or Harry Evangelion. That's wonderful. I love the name, by the way. It's fantastic. And Ryan is here. Worst Bond film by a land mile. So this is yes. So this has, I think, a very interesting. This has a very interesting, maybe, reputation. And so, Kubrick Lover says, I like the use of the ice in the intro credits. And Wilder says, I saw this in theaters for a 13th birthday party. Well done. Yes, I saw this in the theater too. So it was, there was a lot of laughs and a lot of oohs and ahs, as is to be expected with any Bond film in the theater, I think. So this was certainly no exception to that. So it was a fun time in the theater. So that's for sure. And so, let's see. Kringo period is here as well. Hello. It's nice to see you. So anyway, let us begin in earnest, shall we? Because it's now 4 minutes past 7 in the morning. And so, um, and Zyrother says even Halle Berry gets some chin acting as she controls the jet. Yes, yes. We will talk about the chin acting, and there's some pretty interesting details. There's chin acting. There's also teeth acting. There's also um, there's also some Star Wars connections I would suggest, but we'll talk about that later. So anyway, I will return to the live chat momentarily, but for now, let us begin. Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and here we are at another live stream discussion. So thank you so much for stopping by, despite your busy schedules. I know everyone is busy, so thank you so much for dropping in. And we are today talking, or we are continuing our James Bond live stream film discussion that started all the way back last summer. It's been on and off, but we've been on this trek, as it were, together, you and I. And every so often, every second week or so, uh, give or take, of course, we have been sitting here together talking about a particular James Bond film. And we are almost at the end. Can you believe it? Because we've discussed most of them, and we are now down to the final, say, handful, among which is this one today, Die Another Day. So we are going to be talking about Die Another Day today, and that I hope that I hope that you have, well, if you have any feelings about this film, either way, my friends, either way, that is totally okay, because I hope you are willing to share them with us, because I would love to hear what it is you have to say, your thoughts and comments about this film, Die Another Day. And now, in that spirit, let me just say, hold on. There we go. In that spirit, my friends, I must just say a few preliminaries, as I usually do with each of these live streams, or this one as well. So today we will be talking about Die Another Day, and we will be, of course, talking about specific plot points. So if you haven't seen the film yet, I strongly suggest or recommend that you turn off this live stream right now, because we will be talking about spoilers, including the ending, plot twists, etc. So you can turn off this live stream and then watch the film in your good time. And then when you have completed watching the film, you can always come back to this channel if you still want to. This should be still going on for maybe another couple hours, or it will be uploaded as a video after the fact. So whatever the case may be, in any event, we will be speaking about spoilers of this film. And also, I should say, on that discussion point, I do not claim in any way whatsoever to be any specific expert or insider or academic or scholar when it comes to this or any of the James Bond films, or any film for that matter. So I come at this as a fan of the series, and I saw this film when it was released in theaters, and I have been revisiting it ever since. And so I come at this film from that vantage point. So I don't claim to know everything. But if you have any questions of a specific nature, chances are I might not be able to provide a satisfactory answer. But hopefully you might be able to, say, hear from other people. Everyone here is much more knowledgeable about Bond films than I, and so you can maybe get answers from other people here on that question, or maybe it'll give you some opportunity or chance or clue to maybe check out this book, or go to that site, or go to this, or something like that. So in any event, I hope you end up finding the specific answers that you are seeking. But anyway, this is purely from a fan perspective, and just having a good time with the film. And I should say also that the live chat, excuse me, pardon me, the live chat is open for anyone who is interested in making a comment, stopping by, saying hello. And so please feel free to enter and participate. Everyone has always been very friendly. And so, if you are interested in just saying hello, you can just drop a line, or if you want to have a comment or chat about this film, please, the live chat function is open to all. I want to say too in advance that I everyone has always been treating me and everyone else here with the greatest level of respect, and I, for one, am so appreciative of that. Truly, I am. Whenever there is disagreement or even a kind of debate in terms of viewpoints or perspectives on film, everyone is always at the end of the day very kind and cordial to one another, respectful. There's a mutual respect. Even when there's disagreement, people always respect each other's opinions. And so I do want to thank you so much for always showing me that attitude. And I want to thank you in advance for continuing to show me and display that attitude of sort of openness going forward. So thank you very much in advance for that. I always appreciate it, my dear friends. Truly, I do. And I should say too, I will do my best to address everyone who's in the live chat. But if I miss your name or your comment for whatever reason, I truly apologize. Also, I will focus primarily on comments that deal with this film, Die Another Day. So if you have any non-Die Another Day comment, please, I apologize in advance, but I probably won't address it here directly. If you still want to ask it to me, you can always leave it behind as a question in one of the comments of a separate video, and I'll do my best to address it again to the best of my ability. So. Um, and so, with that, let us begin the conversation on Die Another Day from 2002. This is the fourth and last, as of now anyway, last film with Pierce Brosnan in the lead role as James Bond 007. And it has a very, I think, interesting legacy in terms of the Bond film franchise, and that's due in part, I think, to the way it stands in the context of the rest of the films, its tone, its content, but also I think, there are some twists and turns. There are some little details that I think are meant to suggest the Bond of the past. This is 2002, and so this was the what was it? It was the 20th film in the Eon film franchise, and also it was the 40th anniversary since the opening or the initial release of the first film in this series, which was Doctor No in '62, and so this was a lot. There's a lot in the air in terms of a celebratory attitude of Bond, and a part of that too, I know, is the marketing and marketing the film. I get that, but uh, this is a series that is certainly one that has a certain degree of longevity, and that's I think undeniable. And so that was in the air, I recall, when the film was about to be released. And so the film Die Another Day also was it's a peculiar one for me, and I'll try to get to reasons why, because I go back and forth on it a lot. But I think the pendulum is swinging, excuse me, or it has swung now recently in, say, the last year or so. It has swung in a different direction, and I'll try to explain that evolution. It's a very positive direction. There are some things that I still have issue with, but uh, excuse me, I'm sorry, but the overall feel that I have at the moment as I'm doing this live stream is a pretty positive one. So. But so one more thing too, and then I'll get to the live chat, which is so I saw this film in the theaters when it was first released, and I was there every step of the way, more or less, in terms of the news that would break prior to this film. Madonna would be involved, and the cast would be assembled, and so I was following that, and of course it was the 40th and the 20th and all this landmark stuff. So there was a lot of festivity type of feel in the air prior to the release of the film, as I recall. And then the film released in theaters, and it was a a pretty it was a packed crowd, as it always is, and it was a very, I think, active and participatory type of atmosphere or mood, and so that was great. And moments where people were laughing, they were really laughing, and there were a lot of, um, uh, as I say, oohs and ahs. Um, the chase in the ice palace, I think, was a big one, and there's some applause, especially what happens to Zhao at the end, and there was a lot of laughter in terms of the car, the invisible car, and Mr. Kill, and the stuff that happens in Havana, and the dive, Jinx dive, all the way down. It's suddenly, computer graphics world into the ocean there, or not ocean, into the water there, and so there's a lot of that stuff, and it has, I think, over time, in the eyes of many people, turned into one of the campiest of Bond films in the series. It is very campy. It is very. It is probably I think it's been described, and I agree to a certain extent with this description. It's been described, I think, as being like the Moonraker of the Pierce Brosnan era, or the modern era, shall we say, post Goldeneye. And I agree with that. This is the Moonraker of this era because of the over the top nature of it, and the way it turns, starting from a seemingly serious, deadly serious type of uh, tone, but then suddenly flipping that and making it ludicrous upon ludicrous upon ludicrous step, until it reaches this realm of, the giant, what is it, ergonomics. Haven't you heard of ergonomics? And the let's make me an armor suit of electricity and can control the Icarus satellite or something. I don't know. But anyway, so that was interesting. And then suddenly he becomes this. I'm talking about Graves, talking about this, this huge thing at the end on the airplane there. But so there's a lot of stuff that I think is very campy. But as we have seen in past Bond films, campy Bond does not always equal bad Bond. And in fact, campy Bond can always be very entertaining Bond. And over time, I have really come to appreciate the entertaining qualities of this film. This is a very entertaining film. And at first I was thinking, oh, it's a little bit, but over time, as I say, I've grown to appreciate the entertaining natures of this. And I go back to my assessment, or to my comments about, say, the film Moonraker. That's a film too that I think is not necessarily held in the highest of regards, say, generally speaking, among the James Bond film fan community, and film reviewer and professional critics community. But I, and the same is true for a film like A View to a Kill, but I came to those films when I was very young. So Moonraker I saw as a kid on TV. A View to a Kill was in the mid 1980s, so that was when I was a kid as well. And so I saw those films early on in my James Bond voyage as a kid growing up. And I loved those films as a kid, and I love those films now. And so I can understand totally if, say, someone is watching a film like Die Another Day as a young kid, for example, or maybe with that perspective, the young child's perspective, as it were, watching this film and then just being in awe of the huge satellite that suddenly turns into this huge balloon in the sky, and we have the fight in Blades. It suddenly turns into this dead, like, that's also kind of a Moonraker reference. It reminds me a lot of James Bond fighting Chang in the Venice Glass Museum. There's a lot of glass breaking and destruction and all that, and the suit and the electricity, and the fight on the airplane, and the ice palace, and the laser, and the car chasing the car, which I think is a first in the Bond film, right? In terms of each car, the Bond car and also the villain car, each being equipped with the rockets and everything like. So it was a real cool, like, that's what you do when you're a kid playing with your toy cars. You have one car, boom, 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 the other car. So it was that um, play acting come to life. It's again. Um, uh, right from Goldeneye. What's the line from Goldeneye? Your boys with toys. So it's the but it was that was the great stuff about Die Another Day. And so looking at this from the kid's perspective or the child's perspective, seeing the awe or wonder of this and the spectacle, I can understand someone really falling in love with this stuff. And so I can completely sympathize with that perspective. It came in 2002, this film, so I was already in my 20s at the time. So I first saw this as a young adult, and so maybe from that perspective, I was probably looking at cinema, looking at the world a little bit differently. Excuse me. But now I'm getting quite older, and I'm beginning to appreciate more those times that are no longer with me, which is the times of my youth. And when I think of my youth, I'm thinking not just my 20s, but also when I was a child. And so thinking about that and thinking and recalling those memories, I imagine if I saw this film as a kid, I would love it. And from that, when I realized that, suddenly turned on this and I began to appreciate it more and more and more. Again, there are some silly moments, there are a lot of silly moments, believe me, there are plenty of them. But as we have been discussing in this film series or this discussion series, we're okay with the silly moments. And in fact, we celebrate them because any chance we have of being entertained, I think that's something that we should not just protect and not just cherish, but really celebrate. And so there are many of those moments, I think, in this, and we can laugh with the film, we can laugh at the film, we can think it's cheesy, it's corny, it's not, but that's great. That's really great, and I think it's giving us this opportunity for yet further discussion. So that is my opening salvo in terms of the film Die Another Day. But before I go further, let me now just go to the live chat and let's see what you have to say. Um, let's see. Matt is here. Matt Flaherty, and you say, I saw the movie for the first time last night. I liked it, but I thought the villain was a little cartoonish. Oh, yes, Graves. Yes, Graves is Gustav Graves is, I think, so over the top, and he's got Toby Stevens is so his performance is so wonderful. He's every time he's on screen, he's got that look on his face, that smirk. It's like, oh, this would have, oh, he's just so cocky and so arrogant, and so that's and every time, and it just gets, I think it builds and builds and builds, and you know why, because it's really Colonel Moon, and Colonel Moon as Bond, and he does that thing at the ice palace or the place next to the hotel, and he's like, so you live to die another day, Colonel Moon, because we realize that this is Colonel Moon in disguise, or to be more specific, after having gone through gene therapy, which was initiated in this clinic in Havana, by removing the bone marrow and then replacing it with new DNA. And that's meant to slowly turn one's body or transform one's body into a body with completely different DNA, thus different appearance, different look. And so the idea for Colonel Moon was the turning into this this person who looks like Toby Stevens or Gustav Graves, and he modeled himself after James Bond, whom he met only briefly, but it was a lasting impression because of the unjustifiable swagger, the sort of Western decadence, arrogance, etc. So that's the whole, I think, concept behind the Gustav Graves persona. But it really shines through, and Colonel Moon is a great performer, because it's really irritating to see all these little quirks, and it's like, oh yeah, those things, and also that smile, the evil twinkle in his eye, and the teeth. And I was mentioning earlier about teeth acting. I think here Gustav Graves and Toby Stevens give some really great teeth acting. Whenever he smiles or grins and he shows his teeth, oh, it's so irritating. It's great villain stuff. And I love too, when he's after he's gone through some kind of fisticuffs fight, say a hand-to-hand combat, and he maybe gets hit in the face or something, and there's blood from his nose or from his mouth or something. Every time he smiles, Gustav Grey smiles, and he's a little bit bloodied up, his teeth are red. You notice that? And so it looks like um, if someone drinks like tomato juice and there's a little bit left, or too much tomato juice, and or I don't know, maybe that's not a good example. What's in it? If like if you have a like an ice lolly, there's like a fruit punch ice lolly, and you're eating it, or grape flavor, and it's purple or red, and you're eating it, and after a while it stains your teeth red. Or another one, do you know, in America, for those who are in the United States, do they still have what is it, a Hawaiian punch? Hawaiian punch, that really red, thick, sweet, soft drink, Hawaiian punch, or Kool-Aid, the giant, I don't know what the name of the guy is, but it's the giant pitcher, and he's just standing around saying, drink me," I think. But it's so if you drink lots of Kool-Aid, or if you drink lots of Hawaiian punch, after a while, your teeth get red, because of the color, the intense artificial coloring of the drink. But anyway, I always think, whenever I see Gustav Graves and his bloodied teeth, I think, oh my God, he's drank a little bit too much Kool-Aid. So, but that's great teeth acting. And so, yeah, but it's a very interesting performance, that's for sure. But Matt, you say it's cartoonish. I completely understand what you say by that. I think it's meant to be that way. It's meant to be over the top. It's so over the top, in fact. So. Um, so it's almost like this is very much like a Moonraker type of plot, both in terms of the film and the book. If you know the book Moonraker, it is a very much a Moonraker type plot. But if we were to think about the Moonraker film for a second, and the villain of Drax was a very memorable villain in that way, but he was so calm, so subdued for the most part. Here, the villain is very much a Moonraker-ish type of villain, but it's taking the complete opposite approach. Toby Stevens here is doing so over the top stuff from the very get go. It's boisterous, it's outlandish, and I think it's very memorable in that way. So, and then we'll get to the other villains gallery in the second. So, Zhao and I mean, we're gonna spoil it, right? Miranda Frost, the twist. Although I must say, was anyone surprised when that twist came? I don't know if you were surprised. That's great. I guess it's like she does the thing here with the gun, right? And then she's pointing at Graves, and then suddenly she goes like this and points it at Bond. I don't know, but I was thinking it would be more of a twist if Miranda Frost was actually working for Bond, rather than revealing that she's actually in cahoots with Colonel Moon, or with Graves. So it wasn't. It was kind of okay. It's probably gonna happen. I'm not sure, but in any event, so she does the thing with the gun and here. So it's almost like she does the opposite of what Tatiana Romanova was doing with Rosa Klebb. Remember Tatiana Romanova's like, which one? Which one do I do? So here we have the opposite result, I suppose. Here we have a gun pointed at one person, but then it goes to Bond at the end there, and then we have some great some chin acting. So I would suggest it's a different type of chin acting from Pierce Brosnan here. Uh, in what is probably the greatest example of Bond chin acting to date, in my view, which is The World Is Not Enough, and the chair. One last. So that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I've mentioned many times on these discussions about how I think that's probably one of the most iconic, probably the most iconic chin acting moment in history. But here, I think maybe subliminally, or maybe the chin acting coach of Pierce Brosnan, if there is one, was probably thinking, we went all the way with The World Is Not Enough, and that was stellar chin acting. That was Oscar caliber chin acting. So we don't want to repeat ourselves, do we, Pierce? And so let us now do something a little bit different. Let us go for something more maybe internalized. And so whenever Pierce is angry, he's got that, like, like, I can't quite do it. So when, after the end of the fight in Blades, and Gustav Grace, oh, he holds out his hand to shake Bond's hand. Bond's got that little shake, so that's interesting. He's got it's like his chin has gained an extra, say, 2 centimeters of area on his face, and so it's like this, and then and also when Miranda, at that scene later in the film, when Miranda points the gun at Bond and says, "Oh, it's so good for you to take your gun to bed with us," or something, and then occupational hazard, and he does the thing where he tries to do one last like that, like I can't quite do it. He doesn't do it that he goes like, if he goes like this, right, like so, occupational hazard, right? And so that was really that's some wonderful chin acting there. Incidentally, too, speaking of chin acting, there's other chin acting. He covers his chin. He goes like this with his hand, I think twice. The first time is when he's in the hotel in Hong Kong, I think, after the masseuse is revealed to be an agent working for the Chinese Secret Service, and that whole thing in the hotel, and then they leave, and Bond is seen doing this, stroking his chin with his hand. The same gesture is done at the end when Miranda and the book and Bond goes and he discovers what happened to Miranda, and goes and looks over her body and goes like this with his chin. So that's a very interesting, subtle chin acting display from Pierce Brosnan there. And of course, there's a lot of chin acting when he gets electrocuted by Graves. Right, so really wonderful. There's that, and of course, there's the running. I think there's a lot of running here from Pierce Brosnan this time. There's a lot, like when he's trying to chase. Um, he's trying to like run in outside in the snow, or he's running down the dome, he's going like this, or he's running in Havana trying to go after Zhao, he's going like this. So a lot of that. So there's a lot of great Pierce Brosnan running here. I think this is probably the there was a lot of Pierce Brosnan running, of course, in probably GoldenEye, but maybe if we were to rank the films in terms of how much Pierce Brosnan running we get, maybe this, in my eyes, would be number one. I don't know, GoldenEye number two. Oh, well. But so what was the oh, it was about Gustav Graves at the beginning. Yes, that's right. So anyway, sorry about that. Just going off on a little bit of a tangent here. Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I forget, too, one more thing, and I'll get to the comment. That scene with Miranda and the gun, and she's, oh, I enjoyed last night, James, but it really is death for breakfast. So she stretches out the word. It really is death for. It's so villainish. Oh, I love it. It's great. And then Bond does the thing with the ring, and he breaks the conveniently located glass floor, and so he just goes to the glass floor with his ring, the sonic agitator, I think, from Q. It's not R, it's Q. He acknowledges him as being Q, but quartermaster. And so then the glass floor conveniently located by the. I love it. And I love too how I think the North Korean military meet Gustav Graves and Miranda in that same room afterwards, and I love how they take the time. They meet in the same room. They don't comment on, oh, the floor's broken or anything. They just talk about the Icarus satellite, or he shows them the Icarus satellite. I love how they're stopping at the edge there to make sure they don't fall into the hole. They don't want, if you're trying to show the North Korean military officials this new Icarus project, the last thing you want is to have them fall into this recently created hole in your glass floor. So anyway, so that there's that. But anyway, the point I wanted to make was, oh, it really is death for breakfast, and Bond breaks up. I would have loved it. This film is all about the homages and little references to past films. I would have loved if after Miranda says, it really is death for breakfast, if Bond had said something like, no, no, if you're asking for breakfast, I would have liked coffee, fig, coffee, what is it? Green figs, yogurt, coffee, very, very black, or something like that, in reference to From Russia with Love. So, but anyway, it never happened. But, oh, incidentally, too, I'm sorry, I'll get to the live chat. Another thing, too, I wish that would happen. Speaking of Miranda, you know how we've got the little thing, or is it the Art of War book, and the little at the end, and I can read your every move, and Jinx has the little read that, yeah. It's with the book, right? So that's the whole thing with Miranda. She didn't know that the knife with the something was about to attack her, which is this huge book, but in fact it was a knife with a book stuck in it, or it was a right, it was a book with a knife stuck in it. Excuse me. It would have been great if instead of the line that Jinx delivers, it would have been something like, I don't know. I'm reminded of License to Kill, Timothy Dalton, when Timothy Dalton's Bond meets M at Ernest Hemingway's residence, Key West. And so it would have been like, maybe, I can read your every move. And then Jinx, like, blah, it's a farewell to arms. Blah! Maybe if Halle Berry had said that in her best Timothy Dalton voice, I think that would have been, I think the theater would have erupted in applause or something. But anyway, so oh well, yeah. Okay, so anyway, going back here. So Ryan says, I'm sorry, Cooper Glover says, Halle Berry coming out of the ocean made me think of Ursula Andress and Doctor No. Yes. And then Ryan Harding says, one of the weakest Bond girls in the entire franchise, and it blows my mind they were planning a spin-off franchise with her. So you're speaking about Jinx. Yes, Jinx. Jinx Johnson. Yes, Halle Berry. So let's see. Erwin says, yes, pretty much the bottom of the barrel for me too. Zyrother says, hot take, Halle Berry did it better than Ursula Andress. Yeah, it's I too was. I wouldn't go so far to say I would have loved to have I would have loved to have seen a spin-off film. I don't know if those usually work. Um, if I mean, if we were talking about spin-off films, well, I would love to see and like a Camille spin-off film from Quantum of Solace, or maybe maybe something completely different, like I don't know, maybe a Stacey Sutton spin-off film. That would be really cool. Watching a Stacey Sutton spin-off, maybe she's trying to find working as a geologist in a completely new place, maybe in Canada or something, and she's unearthed some huge plot to I don't know, to upset the geological formations there that will completely upend the Earth's crust or something, and then she finds a secret that maybe Zoran is alive or something like that, and she finds out that Zoran has in fact survived the fall, and he swam to an underground location for the KGB somewhere in San Francisco, and he turned himself into a cyborg. So it's cyborg Zoran versus Stacey Sutton or something. But or maybe we could have seen. Other spin-offs of other characters, like say Lois Chiles' character, Holly Goodhead from Moonraker, or Anya Masova. That would have been interesting. Or you know, I don't know, maybe. Well, there's so many we could have seen, but or Cara Malovi. I would have loved to have seen a Cara Malovi spin-off. See what happened to her. She's struggling, or not struggling. She's struggling with her success as an internationally world-renowned cellist, and so maybe she has to deal with the struggles of success, and maybe there's something that happens that makes her lose her drive to become a better cello player, but then she meets someone who inspires her to continue on with her cello playing and to strive to become the absolute best in the world, which she becomes. But she realizes that being the best is not enough. It's ultimately about the inward journey going forward, and and oftentimes she thinks. Well, anyway, so there are many possibilities. So then you're right. Jinx would it have been interesting to see a Jinx spinoff again? I wasn't necessarily asking for it, but if it had happened, I would have gone to see it. That's for sure. Now, that's not to say that I dislike the character. I think Jinx as a character is really good. I think she's really good. Um, Case in point, when Jinx is at the Havana clinic, and after she's killed, was it Dr. Alvarez, I think, and then she goes out, she plants the bomb in the office there, and then she goes out and it's Zhao, and she's running and she's trying to kill Zhao, or she's shooting at the helicopter. There's a thing where she's running and she's shooting at the same time. That's really cool. That physical prowess and acting from Halle Berry is really cool. It's very effective. And the same is true for, there's a really interesting point in the fight scene at the end between Jinx and Miranda, where they're fighting in the plane, and Jinx does a turn, and then she turns and she faces Miranda again. I mean, I think probably the more maybe spectacularly noticeable stunt is when Jinx does runs up the wall and flips over. That's probably more spectacularly memorable. But what I'm talking about is a much more subtle thing where she's standing and then she tries to avoid Miranda's sword swing, and then she turns and turns back. Oh, it's so cool. It's like a ballet or modern dance move. I thought it was very cool. So those are two physical examples of, I think, where she shows her physicality, and the way in which she can handle herself as an NSA agent. I think really well, and I think it's the the back and forth, say the banter between Bond and Jinx. I think it works for the film. Um, the dialogue is, I think, somewhat cheesy in a lot of places. I think I think I got the thrust of it. So I think that's a little bit okay. Yeah, thank you. It's yeah, but ornithologist, right? Oh, that's a mouthful, or something like that. So okay, but that's not the entirety of Jinx's say dialogue run, and there's a lot of stuff within her dialogue, and she is uh there's I think a really there maybe it for me it's not necessarily the pair with the greatest chemistry, but I would say it's not completely chemistry less. There is a really powerful moment between Pierce Brosnan and Halle Berry. It's so powerful when Pierce Brosnan, or I'm sorry, when Bond is in that chase with Zhao, and while they're doing that whole fight with the cars inside the melting hotel, um, Jinx is trapped in the room and she's drowning because the water level is rising because of the heat that's being applied by Icarus, and she's drowning in the room and she can't get out. Which reminds me, do you know the film Superman 3? The Superman 3, and there's a bit at the beginning where a car runs over a fire hydrant and it starts to drown the guy who's inside the car, which is an amazing scene, by the way. But anyway, that reminds me a lot of Superman, or not a lot, but it reminds me a little bit of Superman 3, what happens to Jinx in that hotel room. It just starts to fill up with water. But anyway, after Bond takes care of Zhao, he rushes to the room, and he crashes through the door, and he breaks the windshield with the ring, and because there's a time is of the essence, and he drives and he goes to the next door compound because he knows there's like maybe a tub of hot water, because not only is she drowning, but she's cold and freezing because this is really ice cold water that she's trapped in. And so she's running, and jumps in, and comes, trying to save her, resuscitate her, bring her back to life, and she does. And it's and such a great moment because you knew that she was near death, or she was about to die, but then she's back. He said, and it's so what took you so long? And it's a perfectly timed moment. You needed a little bit of an icebreaker. Right, you needed that, and it was perfect. It was what took you so long, and that was what Pierce Brosnan or James Bond says at that was so touching. And he says, "What is he say? I'm sorry. And they embrace, and they kiss each other, and it's just, and I'm sorry. Yeah. And he smile. That to me is such a warm and poignant moment. It's so it's just that human moment between two people, and it's just one. Then they're both happy that she's still alive, and she can just say this little one liner. It's an innocent joke, and from that he says something that is really from the heart, which is, I'm sorry. And just, that's great. That's such a great moment. And so, um, that's, I think those are some examples of where I understand it's maybe a corny character in places, that's for sure, and I think it's maybe compounded by the news of, oh, we could have had a Jinx spinoff or something like that. And I'm with you that, with, I wasn't asking for it. I wasn't necessarily seeking a Jinx spinoff at the time, and I'm not necessarily seeking one now. But if it was made, I would certainly watch it. Yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. Oh, so Kubrick Lover says, I wonder how they did the part where Halle Berry jumps off the cliff and lands in the ocean from the island. I don't think she really did it, because it would be really dangerous for her, I would think. Yes. Gregory Arkadin, hello. Rosamund Pike, always. Yes. Um, uh, you know, although, well, yeah, I'll save that comment for, okay. So then Seth Walsh says, this film has enough sexual innuendo to give a double O. I love the close-up shot of the champagne glasses with Halle Berry fruit slicing, sex in the background. Yes, there's a lot of, it's pretty risque. I mean, there's a lot of, what's the phrase, there's a lot more heavy petting than maybe other Bond films. But I don't know. It's maybe, it's the Bond film. It's the first film in the 2000s, right? Because the last film was from 1999, right? The World Is Not Enough, if I recall. So officially speaking, we are in the new millennium. So maybe that's something to say. Also, too, this was Bond, if we recall, after he was a prisoner in North Korea for, what was it, over a year. So 14 months according to the title card there. So this was, we understand, his first encounter with a woman in a very intimate sexual way after he escaped, or had not escaped, after he was released into the West, but then he was held in captivity by the government, and then he escaped from that captivity. And so this was the first encounter that he had. And so maybe, I always think of that scene that Seth is referring to, and it's a very, I think, it goes in a lot of, as I say, heavy petting ways. But I can, oh, this is because Bond this is after he's been away for a very, very long time under torture, etc. So, yes, very interesting. Uh, oh, I think I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to just hold what's. I'm so sorry about this. I do this sometimes, but my son is awake in the next room, so it's still a little bit early for me. So let me now just take one moment and just go to the next room. I will be back in maybe less than 5 minutes, so 2 or 3 minutes. Just hold on for 1 second. Please continue the conversation among yourselves, and I will be back momentarily. So hold on. Sorry about this. I'll be back. Okay. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. There we go. Sorry about that. It is, yeah, it's 7:49 a.m. So it's on a Sunday morning. So sorry, but where were we? Let me now just go back to the chat here again, talking about Die Another Day. So let's see. Oh yes, we were talking about the champagne glasses and the sexual innuendo. There's a lot of sexual innuendo, especially at the end there. With the diamonds. Oh, what is it? Put it back in here or something. But anyway, let's see. Timothy says, couldn't love it more. Halle made for a great Bond girl, one of the best. Wilder says, it's not often you get to talk about Die Another Day of all films. Yes. Seth says, I want to go back to my childhood feelings of this and be critical, but I had a lot of fun watching this. The use of the clash, yes, Pierce Brosnan saying, yeah, before the sword fight, much more, yes, and Madonna. Oh, can you, and this is Madonna, um, uh, this was Madonna, right? I think this was during her period where she kind of had a British accent. And so I think her Verity kind of has a British accent. It's the Madonna accent. Let me put it that way. Can you help me? I think I've come undone. The back of her whatever the corset, I think, was the strap or the string has been unloose. And when she says that, I think I've come undone. I always think of the Duran Duran song, when you come undone. And of course there's Duran Duran, the link with Duran Duran and Bond is of course undeniable. So but anyway, yeah. And there's a whole thing about it. How Verity is the coach of Miranda, and how that was Miranda Frost who won the gold at Sydney, so the gold medal for fencing at Sydney. So, but we realized the true story about what happened, because the real gold medalist was killed, and it was made to look like the person or the athlete had OD'd on steroids, but in fact we realized that this was a plot employed by Colonel Moon in order to get Miranda to change sides. And so she's a gold. So this is right in For Your Eyes Only, the film For Your Eyes Only. BB was still training for the next Olympics in order to try to be the gold medalist. Here we have Miranda Frost, who actually is a gold medalist, and so is this the first time? I don't know. It was Eric Kriegler. Was he a gold medalist? I'm not sure. I don't remember. I don't know if it was described that way. But if Eric Kriegler isn't a gold medalist, then this means that, right? Is this the first time, at least as we know of? Who knows? Maybe there were other villains in the James Bond film universe who were gold medalists or Olympic medalists, so we just didn't know about it. But as far as what's been revealed in the films, this is the first time I think we are made to be aware that one of the that we understand later to be villains is a gold medalist. So so that's great. So if Halle Berry, if Jinx was able to beat the gold medalist, does that mean then that Jinx becomes the sort of de facto gold medalist? So but anyway, I don't know how that works in the world of fencing, but that fight, by the way, in Blades is spectacular. I love the over-the-top nature. There's a little bit of oh hello, uh, uh, African conflict diamond. Oh, flawless. Oh, let's fight. Blood drawn from the torso. Oh, and they go fight. And it's just suddenly just going at it and just destroying everything. I love that, and I love too how I mentioned Graves before. Toby Stevens, he's physically built and just like he's ripped. So he forms a really formidable presence, especially when he's fighting Pierce Brosnan, who's also himself very physically, but he's slender, and he's got that slender frame. So I think that contrast between the two of them is great, especially at the end when Graves has that suit and makes him even more buff, bulkier. Yeah. Anyway, Ryan says the CGI in this film is abysmal as well. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty noticeable. Um, uh, the when he's driving towards in Iceland, or the CGI in the sky, or maybe he's climbing out of the water to the Hong Kong Yacht Club. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, yeah. Zyrother says, I think Halle Berry's great in this. The hate for her is weird. Let's see, and then now this it's skipped over now. Sorry about this. This happens to me every single time. Here we go. Um, okay, sorry about this. Okay. Let's see. Drager or Dreyer. Hello. It's nice to see you. Henok is here. Hello. Um, Gregory Arcadin says this film for Brosnan's Bond, like Spectre for Craig's. And let's see. Seth says the CGI adds to the cheesy factor of this film, but still, Bond surfs into North Korea. Yes, yes, he surfs into North Korea. He and the others, the fellow agents. I love when they go into the ground. He does that thing. It's like, right. Ah, it's so cool. Yeah, it's so. And then under the cover of darkness, of course, and the whole plot is to take over the identity of this diamond smuggler guy in the helicopter, and then do that thing. Of course, I think probably one of the most infamous sequences in terms of CGI is the what is it? It's even mentioned in the Everything or Nothing documentary. It's very famous. Where Pierce Brosnan just bursts out laughing when he's asked about it. He's okay. Now we're gonna do kite surfing a tsunami. Just he can't. He's just like laughing. He can't help it. He's just kite surfing the tsunami. And he's just doing the whole kite surfing, and it's basically taking the parachute of the speed racer, and in order to avoid the laser beam from the Icarus, he drove all the way across the icy tundra, and then he fell off the cliff. And then in order to escape, he decided to take the parachute and the windshield and turn it into sort of an impromptu surfboard and surf his way to freedom. So it was an amazing sequence. It reminds me about a lot of there's a very similarly type of infamous sequence in terms of special effects that's in a film which is from a filmmaker I adore. I absolutely adore, who is John Carpenter, and the film is called Escape from L.A. It was a very interesting sequence also involving surfing, and special effects, computer special effects. So uh, yeah, probably, I don't know. Could there have been another way for Bond to escape that particular situation? Who knows? Maybe, I'm not sure. But um, I mean, it happens for a moment, and then it's gone. And then he does the little thing with the guy who's on the snowmobile conveniently driving past, and he takes the snowmobile into the back to the compound, into the invisible car, and then that fight with Zhao. I will get to Zhao in a moment. I know I haven't spoken directly about Zhao yet, but I will get to him momentarily. Um, let's see. Zarother says the score in this is great. David Arnold. Yes, I love the short rearrangement of the Bond theme as Bond enters the bar in Cuba. Yes, yes. I think David Arnold is one of the great strengths of this modern era. The I was going to say post Goldeneye, but it really should be post or Tomorrow Never Dies and beyond, because of course we know he didn't do the music for Goldeneye. But I think I think I love what David Arnold does. If I were to say one thing about it, it probably is that his action themes, like the I think it's most noticeable. It has its most character in Tomorrow Never Dies. I must admit, it's the kind of the action sequences, music that he does for The World Is Not Enough and Die Another Day. They tend to be a little bit too similar for my particular ear. But that minor criticism aside, I think it's yeah, I do like that, and I like how the theme is introduced, not so much, but just every once in a while, like the theme we get it in the Ice Palace reception. It's sort of, I don't know what it's a remix version, like and it's the and of course we get another version of it at the end, the closing credits. So um, yeah. Dreyer says, remember to leave a thumbs up so that we can spread Dice Case channel towards the YouTube algorithm. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your very kind words. Much appreciated. Thank you. Carl is here. Hello. Zyrothra says the VR sequence is a lovely throwback to the Lawnmower Man. Oh yes, virtual reality. Yes, so this virtual reality, um, and Lawnmower Man, of course, another Pierce Brosnan film, and then also, of course, you're talking about the training sequence, which is almost like the shoot 'em up video game, and also Pierce Brosnan does amazing physicality, and we see a little bit of Robinson there, and he doesn't shoot, so that's part of the thing. You have to be sure not to shoot your allies, although he does a little bit with M. Although when he says, you know, check the recording, you'll see that she has a flesh wound or something. But I think that I don't do this every time, but uh, occasionally when I watch this film and that sequence comes up, I will put on my headphones and I will, while I watch the sequence, the whole VR virtual reality training sequence, I will put on my headphones. I'll listen to the theme song of Never Say Never Again. When we talk about that film, Never Say Never Again, you know what I'm talking about. But at the very beginning of that film, there's a sort of sequence not dissimilar, and so I like to see, you know, Pierce Brosnan cleaning his gun, and you know, you're supposed to hear the sound like da 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 da, and you see the model boat on his office there, and then he hears the shot, and he goes, you know, I was like, na, 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 a man who says never. So that's great. So I like to hear that because there's a similar kind of ring to it. But we'll talk about Never Say Never Again very soon. Um, let's see. Carl Hayes says, "Yo, mama." Yes. So again, another Jinx line. Yes, yes. Jinx. Yes. I'll always be a Jinx to you. Yes. Cyro says Brosnan and Craig know how to look cool holding firearms. Yeah. Yeah, Brosnan has this great physicality. I mean, I think Brosnan looks so good in this film. He looks so good. And I mean, I guess maybe it has to do partially because of the way he looked at the beginning. That that huge, you know, it's like, it's just, I don't know. I understand 14. I have a 14. That's a 14-month beard. That's pretty impressive for a 14-month beard, and the hair, right? But wow, going from that, and he walks into the hotel. I mean, he had his pajamas on, but he didn't button his pajama top. He left it open, and he left it open for all the world to see his hairy chest. That takes a lot of confidence to be able to walk into a Hong Kong hotel, 5-star top class hotel, and not even you know, I'm not even going to button my pajama top. I'm gonna let everyone see my chest. Oh wow. Wow, that takes swagger and confidence. That's Bond. That is Pierce Brosnan's Bond. He's just, you know, he's got that hair, and then suddenly, you know, one cut later, boom, you know, with the electric shaver, and he's back to, and he looks so cool. He looks great, and just the, oh, just, oh my goodness, he looks the part fantastically. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, Pierce Brosnan, yeah, but that beginning with the hair, it's a lot of hair, so much hair. So it's, and you understand, of course, it's the setup for the entire plot because he was betrayed, or he was captured after trying to infiltrate this particular operation with Colonel Moon. At the start of the pre-credits, and then the whole fight, Colonel Moon dies, or dies, and then General Moon and authorities and military personnel capture Bond, and they torture him over the course of 14 months, or the credits. So we understand that the the time frame of a Madonna song is in fact 14 months. And so one Madonna song equals 14 months. So that's the whole. And we see the scorpions and the right, and the yeah, analyze Sigmund Freud, analyze this, right, so, and then the electricity and the fire and the ice uh, girl sculpture turning into fire and bolts of electricity. And then we see in the ice moments of Bond being tortured, which is frightening stuff. I must admit, when I was in the theater watching this, people were shocked when they saw this, because this is not something that you see in a Bond film. Bond being subdued, captured, and tortured, and then we realize for 14 months. So it reminds me a lot, or not a lot, but it has certain echoes of the novel, The Man with the Golden Gun, the start of that novel, in terms of Bond being essentially brainwashed, and at the very start of that. And so here we don't necessarily have brainwash, but maybe we have the suspicion of Bond having been brainwashed, which is the whole reason why Bond needed to be brought back and released. And the only way he could be released is to have a prisoner exchange. Bond for what the West had, which was Zhao. And so we see them, and it's all right there within the fog, and the bridge, or the crosswalk, in terms of the border between east and west, as it were. And so and then Zhao still has those diamonds in his face. Like, where, you know, who, what was it, his choice to keep? He's like, keep the diamonds in my face. All right, I don't want anyone to take these diamonds out. I think they look. Was it that way? I mean, it's probably not so hard to take those diamonds out of his face, right? But he still has them in there. I don't know why, but oh well. Well, maybe it's better to have diamonds in his face than the, I don't know, acne or something. But anyway, so he still has the diamonds in his, and it's the prisoner exchange. And then but of course it's not just I think, right, if I recall, Pierce Brosnan after 14 months looks like all this hair, all this hair stuff. But when he sees Zhao's pretty clean cut. So Zhao had maybe, a haircut probably once a month, even when he was, in prison here. So that's not bad. That's not bad at all. But anyway, so all that hair, and Pierce Brosnan, and the hair and Pierce Brosnan were released, and then goes into that whole sequence about the mistrust, or the lack of trust. Possibly he revealed all this information, but then we understand that in this process there is a traitor, or a mole perhaps, that knew to recognize Bond at the outset, because Zhao made a call to someone asking to identify this person, and then he identified immediately as Bond, which leads to the whole chase to begin with at the start. And then Bond is back, and so he realizes, in order to get back at the people who did this to him, he must first go after Zhao. And so that's why he goes to Hong Kong and goes to Chinese Secret Service. And it would have been Wei Lin, I understand, but it would have been cool if it would have been Wei Lin, but that wasn't meant to be. So, but through the contacts of Chinese Secret Service, he's able to go to Havana and try to track down Zhao. He misses. He sees Jinx along the way, and then he goes back to, and then he sees the link with the conflict diamonds. Um, Raoul, the sleeper agent, and all that great sequence between them, and the link between Zhao and Graves and the diamonds, which leads him to London. Goes back to London to find out a little bit more about Graves, and we realize Miranda's there. So he meets Miranda, and we realize that M has engaged Miranda Frost, who is also an agent for the British government, to observe Graves. She has found nothing, but that's the plot. That's their whole idea. And at the same time, Bond is observing him, and that makes that his license to kill status, which was revoked before, now is reinstated, and so that leads to the Ice Palace sequence, and then the whole thing with Icarus, with the thing. It would have been cool though if it weren't named Icarus, but if it were named Lucy. If he had said that the satellite were named Lucy, that would have been cool. So that would have been interesting. Another link to Beatles, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, and then another Beatles reference in Goldfinger. Just like listening to the Beatles without earmuffs, or in Quantum of Solace with Agent Fields. But in any event, it's called Icarus, and then the whole plot is the development of this huge satellite with a huge laser. I mean, we're talking about like like it's a laser beam to end all laser beams. Probably people were thinking, I saw that film, The Man with the Golden Gun, and I thought that huge laser gun is so cool, but there's no laser beam. We don't see any laser beam. I don't want that. I don't want any invisible laser beam. I want the laser beam to end all laser beams. That's probably what Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson were saying in that committee room. I want a laser beam to end all laser beams. So it's a huge beam, boom, going back from the Icarus satellite. And that we realize is the whole plot, which is the Icarus satellite will be used. Oh, and of course we realize too that Zhao has been undergoing gene therapy, and he's in mid-process when they capture him and he's released. So he's not quite finished with his gene therapy, but he looks very cool. He's got that huge, tall frame of his, and he makes him even more sinister. Um, and then of course we realize that Gustav Graves is Colonel Moon, who has undergone gene therapy in order to essentially hide out in the West and carry out his plans, which are to have North and South, the battle or the struggle between North and South, and to essentially destroy the minefield of demilitarized zone with the Icarus satellite, thus paving the way for the military takeover of South Korea by the northern military forces that are led by the military faction that are being supported by Gustav Graves and that have usurped power from General Moon, who is Colonel Moon's or Gustav Graves' father. Wow! And then there's a bit of an interesting intrigue in terms of the positioning of General Moon. Is he a kind of a is he a villain? Is he maybe a sympathetic type of villain? Is he a pawn in much forces that are greater than he, etc.? It's not quite, and of course this is portrayed by the great legend Kenneth Sang. But then, of course, you have the struggle between father and son, leading to the death of the father at the hands of the son. What's the word? Abonim. And so yes, all this plot's going on. Now, I must say that one thing that I must admit I'm not quite sure about in my perspective on this film is, you know, um, uh, it does look from a certain perspective to be, they take the sort of Asian character and they're turning them into uh, characters of a different race, and then they're using those changed characters as the villains of the film. And so I must admit that I when I first saw the film, I was a little bit I wasn't quite sure how to take this type of approach in terms of villain. I would have loved to have seen Colonel Moon as is, because I thought it was a great performance, and it's just really outlandish and physically dangerous with the kicking of the kicking of the punching bag, which actually there's a guy inside the punching bag, which is a great reveal. And so he turns into this, someone completely different. And so I thought, oh, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this. So part of me is not totally on board with that component, to be perfectly honest. However, I do understand that plot point from the perspective of the film. I do understand it because Colonel Moon, when Bond is there and he realizes who Gustav Graves really is, he says it to Bond's face. He says, I wanted to pattern my character of Graves after you, in terms of the Western decadence and the unjustifiable swagger. I wanted to pattern it after you, and so it's it's a type of disguise, and so I understand that, and I understand that this disguise is very important. Excuse me, for the plan of Colonel Moon and Zhao and Miranda Frost and others. So in that context, I am completely okay with it. And so I don't see it from my point of view as a type of fatal or significant flaw of the film, but I do see it as I'm not, I'll be honest, I'm not, I don't, I'm not quite there with the film on that regard, but you know, that's okay. So, but that's that component. Now, ultimately, the plot is very operatic. It's hugely operatic. It's ludicrous. It's over the top. It's operatic. And it's great. It's great. And there's father-son dynamics. There's jealousy. There's what I love is that it's really driven by a kind of hatred for each other. Like Bond and Graves really hate each other, which is you can sense it on the screen. And there's these callbacks when the bullet hole, punctures the glass and everyone's flying outside. It's very much like Goldfinger, things are flying out. The satellite in the sky is very much like Diamonds Are Forever. And the fights, but it's also not just links to the past, but there's also a lot of links to Star Wars. And if you know the film Star Wars, or especially the first three films, there's a lot of stuff. Well, not the first, actually the first six films. Um, so there's a lot of stuff. For example, um, like the fight between Graves and Bond, and then the fight between Miranda and Jinx. That always reminds me of the fight between Palpatine and Yoda, and then Anakin and Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith. How it's intercut with each other. I don't know which would maybe I'm not sure. There's a lot of destruction. Um, in terms, and there's more sword play between Miranda and Jinx. So maybe that would be the Anakin Obi-Wan component, and then the whole thing with the like. Um, uh, do you know like Robot Chicken? There's a series called Robot Chicken. They often make fun of Star Wars, and there's a scene where there you see Emperor Palpatine on the phone. He said, and I threw the whole Senate at him. The Senate, and he's just laughing on the phone. It's referring to a scene in Revenge of the Sith in the Senate room, and he's fighting Yoda. But I think maybe that sequence is probably uh, parallel to the Gustav Graves Bond fight. Incidentally, if we were to carry the Palpatine metaphor further with Graves and Bond, there's also the moment where Graves electrocutes Bond. That reminds me when Palpatine shoots his force electricity on Luke in Return of the Jedi, and is like, what is it? If you will not be turned, you will be destroyed. Ah, and then he's got the whole thing, and Vader's like, right, young fool. Only now at the end do you understand. Bah, bah. You're right, and then you see at the end there, the electricity. It goes all the way through Luke's body, and he's lying there, and you actually see it going through his teeth. And that shot reminds me of when Graves is outside holding on for dear life, and he's and Pierce Brosnan says, "Or time to face gravity," and he pushes the button, and Graves' body totally becomes electrified. You actually see the electricity going through his teeth. That reminds me of the electricity going through Luke's body and Luke's teeth in Return of the Jedi. So there, in a interesting twist, Graves becomes Luke Skywalker. So yeah, but anyway. Uh, and also, there's a great parallel, like the virtual reality sequence could be said to be like the sequence in the cave when Luke is training with Yoda in Empire Strikes Back, and when Bond shoots M, it's almost like Luke fighting Vader in the cave, and boom, and so that does that mean Yoda is Yoda M or is Yoda Q in this film? That's the question. Chiggers is here. Hello. Um, Yes, Seth Wall says Michael Madsen, Judi Dench conversation. You burned me, and now you want my help. A Star Wars Emperor Lightning ending. Yes, cheesy fun. I love the faces in the sword. But yes, you made the point as well. Yes, Seth Walsh. Yes, the Star Wars Emperor Lightning. Yes, that's great. Ryan says this film single-handedly ended Brosnan's run for the role. He wanted not to do more, but the producers wanted to change his style after the stinker. Cooper Glover says, this film made me think of Diamonds Are Forever. The changing of the look of the villain cosmetically. Ah, it's a good point, yes. The diamonds in Africa and the satellite with the laser, yes. Carl Hayes, the last standalone story of the franchise. Very good point, yes. Zyrother, Brosnan gone, done dirty. Yes. The film made a ton of money, but they just fired him. Yeah, not his fault for the bad reviews. 5 bags of popcorn says, um, yeah, it's crazy how much time Daisuke commits to these videos. Thank you very much. Yes, as well as replying to YouTube. That's not a problem. Yes, um, uh, it, it. I do admit it does take some time to comment on the YouTube comments. That's for sure. But totally my pleasure, my friend. Absolutely my pleasure. I'm grateful for you to stop by. So thank you so much. Um, Cooper Glover says, I liked how we find out that the North Korean we think Bond kills at the start of the film looks differently in the latter part of the film. Yes, yes, that's right. Um, Zyrother, oh, it's great. This film is too much fun to hate. Cringe and groan, oh yeah, but not hate. Just scrolling down a bit here. Adam is here. Adam Kennedy, hello, it's nice to see you. Carl Hayes says, Die Another Day greater than the writings on the wall. Um, Adam says, oh, sorry. Cooper Clever says, how could Bond swim in the icy water with the respirator thing in his mouth? Extends credulity. Adam says, Madonna didn't get much love for her theme song, but the video she filmed for it is a lot of fun. Includes a fight filled with Bond props and still one of the most expensive ever. Erwin says, the pre-title sequence is by far the best part for me. Cooper Glover says, why does Zhao have metal bits in his face? Those are diamonds, I think, because of the explosion in the pre-titles. You know, thanks to another Omega Seamaster. So, and also the stopwatch that's used to time the time trials is also an Omega stopwatch as well. Damn Fool is here. Hello, it's nice. Sorry I'm late. There was a bit of a minefield out there. Yes. Um, yes, Seth Walsh. The film makes me want a delictado. Yes, of the Volado tobacco. Yes. Slow burning. Never goes out. That's, I think, the key. That's the code language for the sleeper agent, right? That's sort of like the Rush from Russia with Love. Right, I use a lighter. Better still, until they go wrong. Exactly. So I think that's the language there. Damien is here. Hello. I remember seeing this film 5 times when it was released. Well done. I can't say anything negative except I do wish the sword fight had been penciled in for the finale. Oh, that's a really interesting point. That's interesting. Yeah, that was an explosive fight that comes probably midway through. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this film, though. I'm so surprised when that fight comes. I always feel like that comes in the earlier part of the film, but in fact, if you time it, it's around the middle of the film, right? So, still, your point is well taken. Yes. Um, yes. Damn Fool says Moonraker is perfect to reference as the film becomes an adaptation of the novel's plot midway through. Yes. Yes. Ryan says the tsunami surfing is everyone's personal highlight. Surely, yes, yes. It's very infamous. Yes. Um, how does Cooper Clever says how does Bond's? All right, maybe I should I should go like this, like how Pierce Brosnan does this with his chin. Yeah. How does Bond surf after falling off the iceberg and then just miraculously parachute to the top of an iceberg? It's hard to do. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Damn Fool says the awful CGI unfortunately overshadows the good model work in the film. Literally the high point of the franchise, says Zyrother. Seth Walsh, Bond's fast car in Havana was way cool. Yes, yes. I just think that shot reminds me of the shot of the reveal of it's a Ford, I think, in the film that comes later, Casino Royale. That shot of the car driving, yeah, you're right. Pierce Brosnan, I think, that is so cool. Pierce Brosnan looks so cool in those sequences. Ah, very cool in that blue shirt. Yeah, I agree. Yes, everyone says many diamonds are forever references here. Yes. Um, Yeah, Damn Fool says the major issue was director Tamahori's injecting so much tonality that wasn't Bondian and is trying to appeal to the youth market. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know what those are called. Those sort of those like swerving Matrix style things. Yeah, I get that. Uh, my favorite one was when Bond is escaping and it cuts to Miranda and Graves standing in the room and yeah, it's not quite Bondian, but we haven't seen it before or since, I think. But it is what it is, and it doesn't. There's not so much of it that makes it overly distracting for me, but I do understand. Yes. Zyrot's Brosnan looks great with a beard. That is a huge beard. Yes, it's that. That's he should have used his hair to escape, like taking his beard like going like that with the guy. But yeah, great. Let's see. Um, 5 bags of popcorn. 007 is best enjoyed as a kid. This is true for many things. Seth Walsh, how about Bond already having that diamond dealer's outfit on and yes, just needed his sunglasses to complete this discussion? Yes, that's a good point. I didn't, yes, yes. Under his wetsuit as well, so it's great. uh, yes, it's great. I love it. Um, yeah, Damn Fool says, oh, sorry, Zyrother says, I thought the plot point of Bond being abandoned was really good. Yes, it reminds me of, your license to kill has been revoked. It's revoked here. It is, of course, reinstated later. And yes, Damfool says the nods to past films were far too overdone throughout. It reminds me, so when he's in Q's workshop and we see all the little bits. So first of all, we see the briefcase or one of the briefcases with the knife. Now, I'm not sure if it's the same briefcase that he used, or maybe because remember it's standard issue, so we think maybe many briefcases were made for different 00 agents on the field. Could be his, or could be a similar one. Who knows? There's the what is it? I forget. I always forget if it's an alligator or a crocodile, but it's excuse me. It's the octopusy thing, and then we see the Thunderball jetpack, and then we see the shoe, which is Rosa. We understand it's Rosa Kleb's shoe, I think. We're meant to believe with the knife, the poison knife. So this always brings me to the point of maybe one shouldn't overthink things like this, but that's not a Q invention, right? That's a Spectre thing. And so we are, if that's meant to be the same shoe that Rosa Klebb was wearing in that Venice hotel, then what happened after what happens at the end of that film happens? And he says, yes, she's had her kicks. Maybe we're led to believe immediately after he says that line, yes, she's had her kicks. Let me take off her shoe and put it in my briefcase. Maybe Q will need to examine this particular new device. And maybe we can use it for MI6 adventures. That's probably what happened, right? He took the shoe from Rosa Klebb and put it in his briefcase. And then they went on the gondola and they did the whole thing with the, I've seen faces. Right, so that's probably what happened, right? So that's what that means. That's probably the same shoe that Rosa Klebb wore. Okay, that reminds me too of it reminds me of a sequence in the film On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I didn't think I mentioned this in that discussion last year, but remember the scene in On Her Majesty's Secret Service where Bond, George Lazenby's Bond, is in his office after he thinks he's resigned. He's taking all the stuff from his past adventures, like the knife and the deep breather, and also the watch of Red Grant, right? These are all the, like, each of the things. By the way, he doesn't have anything from Goldfinger there, by the way, right? But there's the watch that's supposed to commemorate From Russia with Love, and you think, did he take the watch off, or not the watch, the grotting device, right? Um, and did he take the watch? Did he take that thing off from Red Grant's wrist? I don't think he did. He says, maybe he said, maybe it was at the point in From Russia with Love in the Orient Express fight, and he said, "You won't be needing this, old man." And when he said this, maybe his hand was so quick that he actually took the thing off his wrist and we didn't notice. And that's why, after all those years, he kept it in his drawer in his desk at Universal Exports. But yeah, so so how did he take off that thing from Red Grant's wrist? And did he really take off the shoe from Rosa Kleb's foot? All these questions, all these mysteries. And anyway, yes. Oh, Damn Fool says, have I missed any Yo Mama jokes yet? There was one, as far as I am counting. There might have been more. Carl Hayes says, I said it a while ago, Dim. Yes. The both it is Carl Hayes. Yes. Yes. Hanok says, Gustav Grace, what an annoying dude. Yes, very, yes. Hawaiian. So I'm at the point where I was talking about Hawaiian Punch. Okay, great. So I'm pretty late, so I'll go through this rather quickly. Sorry if I'm skipping over comments here. Incidentally, yes, I'm at the point where there's talking about the beauty parlor and the whole thing with the mirrors and the DNA sequence that's like in the mirrors when he's going through the Havana clinic. That reminds me a lot of The Man with the Golden Gun. Also, the psychedelic lighting reminds me a lot of the psychedelic lighting sequence in Her Majesty's Secret Service. Yeah. Cooper Clever says Bond and Jinx escaping in the helicopter at the end of the plane, just managing to fly up. Yes. Seems hard to buy, but it's fun, Bond. It's fun. Yes, it reminds me too of how Kara and Bond escaped in The Living Daylights off of the Hercules. It's not a helicopter, but it was like a jeep or something. But I think the concept is similar. Zareth, their newest Oscar category, chin acting. Yes. Yes, the book that's used in the Miranda Frost fight is The Art of War. Yes, it would have been cool if it was Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms, though, as I was mentioning earlier. There are a lot of, I think. It's also it would have been cool, maybe are there a lot of dangerous books in Bond films? The other one I could think, it's not quite a book, I know, but it's the diary that was discovered by Bond when he's meeting Holly Goodhead in the film Moonraker. A day in Roger, daily diary, rather deadly diary. Yeah. Oh, yes. Schlock Horrors here. Hello. It's nice to see you. Yes, Seth Walsh. Yes. Talking about how Jinx deals with Mr. Kill and the hand. Yes, that was a pretty intense moment. The theater burst into this laughter when he says, "I'm Mr. Kill." It's just everyone. That's what is Bond? Oh, that's a name to die for. Oh my goodness. Yeah. The one line, by the way, that makes me so irritated by Gustav Graves is when he says, "Oh, parachutes for the both of us." Oh, for some reason that line just drives me up the wall. I don't know why. It's like, oh God. And of course, at the end, I love how he is dispatched, right? It's the parachute that deploys. We see a lot of scenes in Bond films where parachutes deploy, oftentimes to the benefit of Bond. Remember Living Daylights when he pulls his parachute to escape the burning, exploding car, or the parachute is used. Of course, parachutes are needed in order to save his life. We've seen Spy Who Loved Me. We've seen a Moonraker. Moonraker is another example. He uses the parachute to escape Jaws in midair there. But here we have the parachute that's used kind of in the same way, but also in the opposite way, in order to deploy it, in order to make the villain be expelled out of the thing, which is great. And then, of course, we get a great, there's Hawaiian Punch, and also there's another kind of hamburger moment when he goes into the propeller there. So Hawaiian Punch, Kool-Aid, and hamburger. That's for sure. Yes. Oh, Zyrother says the ejector seat gets its second best use. Thank you very much. This reminds me, the chase, the car chase, and Zhao. Now, I love Zhao. I think that character of Zhao is awesome. And oh, I missed your sparkling personality. Oh, how's that for a punchline? Oh, that's such a great line. That's such great. And I love how Zhao is vulnerable too. Remember when they go into the room, it's Zhao who gets kicked in the face by Jinx. And it's like, oh, right. And he's very physical, but then that leaves Miranda Frost to show her authority and saying, oh, nice suit. I hope it doesn't shrink when it gets wet. And then Zhao goes and then does the chase with the car versus car across the icy tundra, and car versus car in the melting ice palace, rockets. What I love too about Zhao is he is in this melting ice palace in a convertible, an open top convertible. Now, I don't know about you, but even if it starts to drizzle a little bit, I don't have a car. I don't have an open top convertible or anything like that. But if I did, I would think, all right, I'm going to stop the car. I'm going to put the top on, and then I'm going to recommence on my chase with Bond. Not with Zhao. No, he's like, no, I don't care. I'm going right into this melting hotel. All the rain and ice water is coming into my. I don't care because I'm just going to, shoot my rockets and do this thing and ram him. And as Zyrother says, or that's a great use when the car's upside down. Uses the ejector seat to pull himself right back up. Brilliant, brilliant use. I love it. And then just doing the fights and pew 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 and all this. This is great stuff. And then of course the invisible car. Now, the invisible car is right. If I were a kid and watching this, I would think the invisible car is so cool. Wow. And so it wasn't necessary because I think Bond could have simply driven up and then could have driven up the side of the wall at the last minute and go through there. But again, the invisible car thing, that's used for that purpose in order to have Zhao go through the thing. Zhao's going to lose, right? Because this is Bond versus the good, the hero versus the villain. Car chase in a Bond film. The villain is going to lose. So how is he going to lose? That's the thing. Is it going to be through some slip of the wheels or something? No, it's going to be through the invisible car thing. So you love it or you hate it, whatever. But he's going to lose. So in fact, he does lose, and he goes into the melting lake there. And I love here too, Bond doesn't shoot at him directly. No, what does he do? He goes up and he shoots the chandelier and has the chandelier go here, blah, boom. Now, I was mentioning Hawaiian Punch and Kool-Aid before. Here, we have a lot of what is it? V8 tomato vegetable juice. Oh, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's an eruption. It's very much like Dario in License to Kill. And so you've got, a hamburger meal, mincemeat hamburger meal with a large glass of tomato juice. So that's the Dario Zhao combo. That is a spectacular ending for one of the most memorable villains in the Pierce Brosnan era, and he looks very ominous and mysterious. I was speaking about the Star Wars references when he emerges from the car at night with his hood. He reminds me a bit of Darth Vader. Also, what's the name of that? Kylo Ren a little bit, but also there's the horror film I Know What You Did Last Summer. There's a little bit of that vibe there, and it turns out to be Zhao. in this new look, which is very creepy, very sinister, and then the chase, which is one of the best, I think. So, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling down just for the it's now. Let's see. Yeah, Zyrother says Waylin should have had her own spin-off. That would have been cool. Yes, yes. Yeah, Damful says a girl and a cello, the Cara Malovi story. Yes, we're talking about the. Seth Wall says, you know, you guys love Catwoman. Okay, maybe one day we'll talk about Catwoman. Um, Ryan Harding spin-off with Fiona Volpe. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, that's a great idea. That is a great idea, Ryan. I love it. Oh, talking about Damien talking about Falco. Yes. Yes. You're not at the end there when the everything was about to be destroyed, but then stopped, and then Falco, Michael Madsen puts a cigarette in his mouth. You right? You know it would have been cool if it was if somewhere someone had a radio on. It was playing, stuck in the middle with you or something. Oh, and he's dancing, and M's there's like, what are you doing? And it's like, oh, have you seen Resurrect? Just walk away, walk away. So, um, let's see. Uh, Adam says Daisuke is even more thought to Kara than the screenwriters. Oh, it was always about the Kara cello story. Yes. Um, Damfles, read it in the rom com of how Paris met Elliot Carver. Yes. Yeah. How did that happen? How did that? Yeah, that's an interesting story. How did Paris and Elliot Carver meet? What were the like? Who who came on to who first, right? Or who came on to whom first? But yeah. Zero through yes. Quoting Verity, I don't like cockfights. Yes. Oh, Chris Gulo is here. Hello, bonsoir, Daisuke. Yes, I'm an American in Paris right now. It's past midnight. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Bonsoir. Et merci beaucoup, mon ami. Subliminal Vibes is here. Hello. In Australia. Well done. I've always wanted to go to Australia. I've never had the opportunity. You know, the incidentally the Gustav Graves Iceland hotel looks a little bit like the design for the Sydney Opera House. Timmy's Mess Icebreaker, nice one. Yes, thank you. Yes, clashes in the bond. Yes, slightly edited London Calling, but it's right, complete with. I'm glad I asked for a shake. That was a cool moment, by the way. With the nod to Spy Who Loved Me, of course, with the Union Jack. And Hanok says, View to a Kill had Beach Boys in the beginning. Yes. There's always, not always, but every once in a while they have a Bond film with references to other songs or works of music. You have in The Spy Who Loved Me as well, and also Moonraker. And as far as songs are concerned, there's right, the Beach Boys, and let's see, I think that's it. Oh, of course, maybe you can also count Tosca in Quantum of Solace, which I think is one of the, that is still hands down for me one of the best sequences. Probably my favorite sequence. Did I say that in the Quantum of Solace stream? I think I did. That's my favorite sequence in the Craig era. That is such a cool sequence. But anyway, yes. Scrolling down, sorry. Subliminal Vibes, does Bond have a nephew? Yes, and Damples, the son produced, yes, the Eon produced unofficial James Bond Jr., yes. Yes. He learned his game. What's the theme song? Yes. He learned his game from his uncle James, and he's da da da. It's Bond, Bond, da da da. James Bond Jr. Da 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 da. And he's, yeah, James Bond Jr. And he's fighting all like Odd Job and Jaws. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I saw that when I was a kid too. Yeah, that was great. Um, that was around the time too of cartoons like Captain Planet. You, does anyone remember Captain Planet or uh, what is it, Animaniacs? Um, I remember what was it, Captain Planet? I haven't thought of that. What is it, Captain Planet? He's our hero. Gonna take pollution down to zero. Was right. And what is it? Gonna help him put asunder bad guys who like to loot and plunder. You'll pay for this, Captain Planet. And what was it? There, it had the rap part at the end. What was it? We're the Planeteers. You can be one too, cause saving our planet is the thing to do. Looting and polluting is not the way. Hear what Captain Planet has to say. The power is yours. So then, yeah. So why did I bring up Captain Planet? The reason why is because I remember it was around that same period of, what was it, Saturday morning cartoons or whatever. Captain Planet would be on, and then also you'd have James Bond Jr. around that time. So yeah. So, and then also Animaniacs, and there's a few others I forget, but yeah, it's a long time ago. Oh, thank you. Erwin says Kriegler is at least the East German champion, so this talking about the gold medalist. Thank you, thank you. All right. Sorry, this I'm scrolling down. I've skipped over a few comments. I apologize. Just going down. Here we go. Thank you. If I've skipped over your comment, I apologize. Let's see. Um, uh, yes, Damien says Vlad's death had an Art Goldfinger vibe. Yes. Um, if I was a bad guy in 007 movie, that's how I'd like to be taken out. Brief but memorable. Yes. Whew, yeah. Um, yes, Blade's fight essentially takes the place of the card table sequence in the novel. If they could have figured in a line, you know, I encourage you to spend the money quickly. Let's see. Zarother says, Escape from LA, the greatest Carpenter film ever. Ooh, very interesting. Very interesting, yes. Let's not forget John Cleese. Yes, John Cleese's Q. Not R this time, but Q. Um, let's see. Yes, Alchem Elixir. Hello. Yes. Yeah, I would have loved. I would have loved to have seen John Cleese continue, but yeah, you know. Um, oh, Cooper Clever says when Bond hits those doctors and nurses with the defibrillator, wouldn't they be shocked to death? I don't know. I guess it's a Bond film, so we're not supposed to think about that. Yeah. Although, what is it? He's able to control his his heart rate or his heartbeat and body functions in order essentially to feign or to pretend like he's dead or his vital signs are giving way, and that's meant for him to essentially come back. I think that's the implication, although I'm not quite sure. The way it's edited together, it's not clear. It could be either way, but yeah. um, Zyrothra says torture by CGI scorpions terrifying. Yeah. Analyze this, analyze this. Sigmund Freud says Henoch, yes. Seth Wall says they ruined the shot of Brosnan's face being dunked in water with those CGI mermaid women or whatever. It was so raw, Brett. That's interesting. Yeah, so that, oh wow, that's interesting. Maybe we should, when I watch the film again, I'll watch that sequence. And instead of listening to Madonna, maybe I'll listen to something from The Little Mermaid. Interesting. Yes, Damfool says Zhao had no reason to keep the diamonds in. Don't know, like, how do you wash that? Like, what do you like? Can you use regular like face soap? I don't know how does that work. You know, when you take a shower, what does that? What happens? And what if something falls out? Yeah. Um, Damn Fool says Raoul was woefully underused. Yes, I agree. Such a cool character, so much potential. Talk about talk about a spin-off. That would have been great to see a spin-off. What was his story? Because he's a sleeper agent. What's his? Oh, great. And you know, um, Emilio Echevarria, so very famous. Wow. Anyway, yeah, great performance. I agree. Um, talking about Madsen, yes. David Jones, you mom, thank you. Okay, okay. So that's number two, I think. Okay. Um, yeah, Stamfels. I've always liked the title song, and yeah, Seth Wall says Japan is a bug waiting to be squashed. Yes, so says Gustav Graves to like the military. I think, yeah, or is it to his father? I forget. Yeah, with the Icarus satellite. I think I picked up Gustav Graves' Moon, but not right away. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting too about Gustav Graves and the whole quirk about how he doesn't sleep. Um, Now, I thought that would be like, and I thought it reminded me of those really quirky things like the weeping of blood of Le Chiffre in Casino Royale, or the webbed fingers of Stromberg in The Spy Who Loved Me. It's those little things that you don't really need it in terms of propelling the plot forward, but they're just these quirks of the character. And so here for Gustav Graves is he can't sleep, and he says an hour on the dream machine keeps him sane, which is an implication that maybe he is bordering on insanity because of the lack of sleep. Now, if there was a crossover between two films, I would have liked to have seen a crossover between Die Another Day and A Nightmare on Elm Street. Because if you have a film like A Nightmare on Elm Street, where the whole the whole premise is the kids are trying not to sleep, all you have to do is say, "Hey, you should go to this clinic in Havana and have your DNA, or you should have gene therapy to have your DNA essentially removed and replaced with the DNA of a completely different person." That way, you'll undergo this incredibly painful bone marrow transplant surgery, but in the end of the day, you won't sleep. So if you want to escape the clutches of the dream demon Freddy Krueger, then you should go to the Havana Clinic. So that would be an interesting crossover, and then you'd have all these people going to the Havana Clinic, and they're going through gene therapy, but they won't sleep, and so that would be really great. Yes. Seth Wall says, "Father, please." Oh, yes, yes. Now, young Skywalker, you will die. Oh, Zyrother says the electricity in Die Another Day is purple, like the Emperor's lightning in Return of the Jedi. Oh, really? Is it blue or purple? I always forget. Is it purple in Return of the Jedi? I forget. It's blue. I forget. But it's close enough. Yes, yes. Oh, Gizmortar is here. Hello. I always remember Brosnan's reaction, facial expression after Miranda Frost says, "You'll never have that pleasure, Mr. Bond." Post Bond Gray's sword. Yes, Bond has that like that, right? Yeah, I can't quite do it justice, but yes, yes. Zyrother ice cold. Um, Damien says the cars are said to be still in Norfolk, England. Really? Uh, Interesting. Uh, David Jones, Lie Another Way, 007. Um, yeah, yeah. Would have been really interesting to see one more Pierce Brosnan film. That's for sure. Really interesting just to see. I think he looked so great. He was uh, so great. Um, I mean, I jest when it comes to this stuff, but that's part of the fun. I mean, I do a lot of that for Roger Moore's one. I love Roger Moore. Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan wouldn't isn't necessarily my Bond. My Bond is Roger Moore because of my age, and the time that I discovered Bond growing up. But Pierce Brosnan, gosh, gosh. If it would have been great if he had one more serious Bond like Roger Moore did with For Your Eyes Only. It would have been great. If it had been Casino Royale or something, I'm not sure, but would have been really, really great. Can you imagine, right? Pierce Brosnan in Casino Royale. Oh, goodness. Um, uh, in the torture scene, could you imagine with the torture scene and the carpet beater and like Le Chiffre's like, "You're gonna tell me what the code is," and it's like, and Pierce every time he hits Pierce Brosnan, go, "Oh, oh," right? "Oh, to the right, to the right." Oh, so much chin. Oh, wow, we missed out on what could have been the ultimate of chin acting in the history of chin. Oh my goodness! My goodness! It makes me want to weep blood just to think about it. But yes, and could you imagine at the end with Mr. White? Uh, the name's Bond, James Bond. Oh, right. It would have been. Would have been so cool. But or oh gosh, what else could we have seen from Pierce Brosnan in Casino Royale? What could we have seen? Um, oh gosh, or could you imagine in the fight at the beginning, Pierce Brosnan running through a wall, just trying to fight the guy? That would have been so cool. Yeah. Oh, and he's just running like this up that little whatever that crane. He's running. That would have been so cool. But anyway, um, yeah. Oh well. Oh, we got another Bond. So let's see. Hanok says he was 48 when this movie was released, I believe. Really? Really? Okay. Oh, is the vote going to start soon or is it finished yet? I'm not sure what's next. We have only a handful remaining, but Ryan Harding says, There's so much potential of having Bond doing a mission in North Korea. Unfortunately, it just feels underwhelming in Die Another Day. Damn Fool says, I think Kleb's shoe was kept as evidence, maybe. That's interesting. Yeah. Could have been, yes. Yeah. Seth Wall says, how about Zhao's demise? Bloody chandelier water. Yes, yes. V8 tomato juice. Um, yeah. Oh, yes. Ryan Harding. Elementary, my dear Daisuke. Thank you very much. Yes. Enoch says, your mom, and she's very disappointed in you. So, yes. Damien says, perhaps the shoe led to Q developing the spiked umbrella. Oh, yes, in what is it? Was it in Octopussy, right? Stinging in the rain. Oh, that's not very funny, 007. Actually, I thought that was quite funny indeed, but anyway. No, that's not Octopussy, it's For Your Eyes Only, right? Yeah, I think. What's the one? Am I, oh gosh, someone please correct me. Is it For Your Eyes Only? If I'm incorrect, please correct me. Okay, just scrolling down here. Oh yes, talking about the mirror sequence. So a lot of mirror movies. Ryan also mentioned Enter the Dragon. Yes, yes. I love Enter the Dragon, by the way. As I wrote this, Zardos has a great mirror scene. Oh, speaking of Sean Connery, yes, Zardos. I love Zardos too. I remember I saw that on TV in the UK as a kid. So I don't know how old I was when I was in the UK. I would have been like what, like 10 or 11 or something when I saw Zardos on TV. And then in the UK, they show a lot of sexual scenes and nudity and stuff. So I saw Zardos. I didn't quite know what I was getting into. Not no nothing. I knew nothing about Zardos, and I just, oh, this is Sean Connery, cool. And that guy just, I was like, wow, what's going on? This is, and like, and, what, and that's how it's gonna end. Oh, that's how it's gonna end. Oh my goodness, that was my first experience with watching Zardos on British TV many years ago. Yes. Um, okay, scrolling down. Sorry, it's great conversation, by the way. Let's see. Yes, there's mention here of Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon. Of course, Enter the Dragon. It's often commented upon that very much has a Doctor No type of feel to it in terms of the plot construction, the infiltration of the base, and all that. So, yes. Talking about the Vanquish and the Vanish. Yes, yes. Zyrother says this movie is bonkers. Gotta admire it. Yes. Damful says what Wayland was teased for a spin-off as with Dr. Kaufman. Yes, Dr. Kaufman's spin-off with Stamper. Zyrother's our last Bond pull house. Oh, that means yes, because after this we'll only have one other film left. So it's either what Never Say Never Again or uh, Casino Royale. Yeah, Falco. Genesis Requiem is here. Hello. It's nice to see you. Thank you very much for stopping by. You say, hi, Daisuke, huge fan. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Genesis Requiem. Well done. Thank you so much. It's nice to see you. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. So I'm just scrolling here. Whoops. Okay. Just whoops. This always happens. Here we go. There we go. Sorry. Um, is the poll almost over? I'm not sure, but in any event, let's just continue. I think as I'm going through the chat, uh, maybe a couple more things on Die Another Day, and we can start to close the conversation, which is, I think for, oh, Special K is here. Hello. I think the, the, it's, it's a really, it's a really kind of, it's a, it feels like a film that, how should I put it? I think it's been mentioned in the chat too. I mean, we're trying to see a lot of funny and entertaining points to the film, and I think there are. There are a lot of very funny and entertaining ones. But at the same time, one would have liked to have seen maybe one last proper, say, send off of Pierce Brosnan's James Bond. I don't know. It would have been like I thought that um, uh, you know, the way that Connery and Broccoli Saltzman ended on sort of rather acerbic terms. You know, after you only live twice, but they decided, you know, they would come back together one more time for Diamonds Are Forever, and so that was a kind of send off in a way. It was a completely different direction in many ways, but at least it was a type of send off, type of kind of. Roger Moore with The View to a Kill. We have the great ending. Roger Moore and Stacey Sutton, you know, oh James, ah ha ha, ooh, and it ends with one of the great Roger Mooreisms ever, which is ooh, and that's a great way to end that. Here, it would have been great to have some way to end or to celebrate the legacy of Pierce Brosnan. I don't know. It would have been great to have like a chin or something. Chin, or maybe a I don't, what could have been a great, like, we get Jinx's laugh that ends the film. It would have been nice to have a Pierce Brosnan send off somewhere, or to have a separate film. I don't know. Maybe you could have had Pierce Brosnan, like, I don't know, like running across the field at the end with a David Arnold romantic soundtrack. It's like no 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 no, something like that. And he's running, and it's fates to the credits, and that would have been it. That would have been really cool. Or maybe Pierce Brosnan says, you know, I never miss, or Pierce Brosnan says something like, I don't know, oh Jinx, uh, Christmas comes once a year or something. And Jinx's like, what are you talking about? Like, oh, it was something I said a long time ago. Forget it, or something like that, and just runs off, and, you know, with his hands. But yeah, I don't know. We needed I think a stronger finish for Pierce Brosnan, but again. The fact that we didn't means that we have the lasting legacy of Pierce Brosnan's James Bond film era. And I must say that Die Another Day, I think, serves as a really interesting counterpoint to a more serious edged Bond that we saw in, say, GoldenEye. And I think that's one of the great strengths of my favorite Bonds, like Roger Moore. I go back to Roger Moore time and again because I love his run. His run of films has such depth and variety. It's amazing. It is amazing. He goes serious and then funny and Moonraker level absurdity to the ice cold Cold War era For Your Eyes Only, and then the one-off adventures of, say, View to a Kill and Octopussy, and then you have the great Tom Wankowitz era, Guy Hamilton era from the earlier days, and then the great epics, Spy Who Loved Me epic. So he's got everything here. And so I like to think, too, the Pierce Brosnan era, though the number of films in quantity is less, it's only 4, still we've got so much variety in the similar vein. And so all we needed was a Moonraker type of way to cap off or to include in the Pierce Brosnan run. And so this is wonderful in that perspective. And so I always like to think, if it would be great if Daniel Craig were to continue. It would be great just if Daniel Craig had his own Moonraker, had his own type of one-off where he just go silly, fun, ludicrous, and have a good time. Because I think you need that type of counterpoint in Bond films in order to maintain a sense of variety, the spice of life, and to maintain a sense of longevity. You know, if you have films that are of the same beat, it can't last. So the fact that you go from a golden eye and the serious edge of, say, the world is not enough, all the way to this huge ludicrous romp of Die Another Day, is, I think, a strength of the film series. And so the film series, in fact, needs these films like View to a Kill, Moonraker, Die Another Day, I think, for its longevity. Very much so. And so in that way, I admire very much this inclusion and the fact that it was made in this. And the fact that we get a film like Casino Royale later, which I admire tremendously, which is also very, very deadly serious in a lot of ways. And I think that's thanks in large part due to the heightened camp of the previous film, Die Another Day. Now, with that being said, I would have loved to have seen just one more, maybe final send off or something. Would have been. I mean, we kind of got a little bit of that with Moneypenny and Bond at the end in the virtual reality. Although, to be perfectly frank, I don't like how Moneypenny ends that run. The Samantha Bond Moneypenny I thought was great, but the fact that it ends in this almost this sort of this joke which makes Moneypenny look kind of pathetic, which is a little bit sad for me. I always thought that Samantha Bond's Moneypenny deserved a little bit of a better finish, if you know what I mean, or a better send off. And the same is true for Pierce Brosnan. It would have been nice to see a little bit of an interesting send off in that way. But oh well, oh well. At least we do have the rest of the films and the rest of the legacy, and so um, I'm I'm very grateful for that. And so maybe if Die Another Day, if the order had been switched, if Die Another Day had come earlier, and if we had GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies, Die Another Day, and then The World Is Not Enough, I think that would have been perfect. That would have been the perfect order, because we would have had like the World Is Not Enough, which is in many ways a kind of sequel to GoldenEye. We would have had the return of Zukovsky. We could have had a little bit of Wade there. Maybe he could have been in there as well. You know, Wade picking up like, I know Wade is CIA, and I think Jinx is NSA, so it's different. But maybe there could have been some different. There could have been some interplay with Wade after Falco, etc., Michael Madsen. So if they changed the order, I think that would have been really cool. But oh well, oh well. And that's to say too that still we have, that's another indication of the fact that the legacy of Pierce Brosnan is solid as it is. It would have been great to see more, and I think Pierce Brosnan looked so great, and he still did. And it would have been interesting to see how he used that as part of his characterization, and going forward. Would have been, if there was one more film, it didn't have to be Casino Royale, but if it was just one more film from Pierce Brosnan, I think that would have been absolutely sublime. I think the world would have been welcome to that, because as people have noted, this film, Die Another Day, was a huge success. And I think it's due in large part to the way that Pierce Brosnan carries it. He does so well in this film. A lot of people praise GoldenEye, that's for sure, but he was younger then, and GoldenEye arguably has much more stuff around him that is consistent with the performance. Here, Die Another Day, the opposite is true. There's so much around him that's, in a sense, competing with Pierce Brosnan's performance to take our eyes away from him onto other things, but he still manages to hold his own and then some, I would suggest. In other words, his Bond here is more crucial to keep things together than, arguably speaking, some of the other films. And so that means that I think this is a very key film, arguably, in the Pierce Brosnan era. It would have been great if there was one more after that, or maybe the order was changed so that The World Is Not Enough could have ended the series. But still, right? Could you imagine? Could you imagine the end of the series with Pierce Brosnan and that last one-liner that closes "The World Is Not Enough," and that being the way that he ends his run? Could you imagine that? Wow, wow! Or the fact that "World Is Not Enough" ends the series with the greatest chin acting ever. Wow, wow. But you know, but still, we have, as I say, this turn which is necessary in terms of a tonal shift. Also, it's a revelation in terms of how Pierce Brosnan, the scope and range, and the the way that it can handle, the Pierce Brosnan performance can handle basically anything and still manage to come out center of the attention, which is brilliant, by the way. So in that way, this is essential film, essential stuff. Um, was it the best way to go? Questionable, arguable, but still, it's certainly not bad. That's for sure. Okay, so let's see. All right. Oh, is Never Say Never Again out of print? Are you kidding me? My goodness. All right, so Seth Wall says, I watched Die Another Day this morning on Amazon video streaming and it consistently had a buffering look. So disappointing. Strong case to own on physical media. Yes, yes. Streaming services, don't get me wrong, I'm a big supporter, but yeah, it's yeah, exactly what Seth says. I am with you 1000%, my friend, as always. You say it, you and I have same opinions on a lot of things, but you say it much better than I do. Exactly, my friend. Um, and I love too how I mentioned Die Another Day and the way that the end credits is a different version of the song Die Another Day. It's almost like the disco version of Moonraker that ends that film. Um, you know, yeah. Damfool says Brosnan deserved and needed a final exit film to cement his tenure, and unfortunately, it was left hanging, as we all were. Yes, yes, yes. Ryan Harding chin acting during the poker scene would have given his hand away. Right. Oh, he's like, check. Like that. And he's got a royal flush. That's his royal flush face. You're right. And then in the background you have Mathis talking to Vesperlin's like, oh, that's 50 million in the pot. What's like Vesper's like, I know, you don't have to tell me, Mathis. I already know how much money's. Yeah. That's great. It's a great film, but yeah, yeah. Oh man. Oh, thank you. Damn fools. The umbrella's in for your eyes only. Thank you very much. Thank you, Damien. Thank you. Thank you. Um, and I want to say too, the actress who is pouring the water on the umbrella in that Q scene in For Your Eyes Only, I don't know. Maybe it's the same actress who plays the character of of um, of Heather Badcock in the Agatha Christie adaptation called The Mirror Cracked, which is directed by Guy Hamilton and also features Pierce Brosnan, by the way. So it all comes full circle. And stars Angela Lansbury as Miss Marple. I'm not sure, yeah, but anyway. Um, Barrow 8 says, got to see Zardos in the theater as a kid. We were expecting a very different movie. Wow, that's so cool. You saw Zardos in the theater as a kid. Wow. Yes. Zyrother says Little Daisuke getting a full view of Sean Connery. Yes, yeah, it was certainly an eye opener. I wasn't, as I say, it was just like I was like that, but you need those moments as a kid growing up, cause, right, right, like I don't know how. I don't know. But that's one of the things about cinema that's so amazing. It's a gateway into a whole new world that you would never have known otherwise. And that's certainly true for Zardoz. I think my life pre Zardoz was totally different than my life post Zardoz. That's if you know what I mean. Yes. Yeah, damn fool says Brosnan still looks good now. Yes, that's true. Take the example of the documentary Everything or Nothing. I mean, Wow, yeah, he looks great. He absolutely looks great. I love that documentary, by the way, Everything or Nothing. Um, we should do that we should talk about that documentary on a live stream, We should, I was thinking about do you want to I know the films are about to be over. Well, I mean, we have No Time to Die in October or November or something. I don't know what the release date is in Japan, but let's continue these. I'd love, we should just, after we discuss the films, or if we finish discussing the films, like we should do like a theme, like a Bond related theme. Like, oh, this next week we're gonna talk about our favorite minor villains that don't get enough that deserve more attention than they get, or minor I was thinking we should have a live stream just talking about these Bond themes, maybe every week or every 2 weeks or something. If you're interested, let's keep on doing that up until No Time to Die. So, like, one thing I was thinking about was, thinking about all those Bond villains who are like sub level. And so, like, the guy, or not like the, in Diamonds Are Forever, like at the beginning, like Cairo, or that guy, or in Spy Who Loved Me, after they're doing the ski and Bond does the flip in the air, and then he runs into the guy, that guy he runs into with the gun, he's got his mouth open, like that guy, right? We should celebrate characters like this, so, or something, or similar themes, like favorite Bond song, or what is the best, let's continue this. So if you're interested, I know I was thinking we should talk about other films like Star Trek or something, but I just love these Bond film discussions and things. So if you're interested, let's try to think about doing that. So after Never Say Never Again and Casino Royale and the redo of For Your Eyes Only, let's continue that going forward, if you're interested, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. Barrett A. Dalton was fantastic in Hot Fuzz. Yes, yes, I love it. Oh, this really hurts. Yes, I love Dalton. I love Dalton so much. It would have been so cool if Dalton were in Die Another Day. Um, could you imagine it? Uh, you know, so you live to die another day, Colonel Moon. You know, oh, Verity, I need a fencing lesson. And Madonna's like, oh, okay, can you come? You've come undone, Verity. Yeah, it was so cool to have Dalton. Wow. With the beard. I need my usual suite, when he goes into the Hong Kong hotel there. Yeah. Zyrother says the German Blu-ray of Never Say Never Again stayed in print until about 2018. Oh, that's too bad. That is too bad. Okay. Oh, yes, yes. Damful says, when Dalton says, "I always love a challenge." Yes, when he's got his hair. Yes, that's great. I always love a challenge. Yes, yes. He's so cool. Bam, bam, bam. Oh, it's great. And I always go back to the Living Daylights. Right now, he's not the Superman. Yes. But of course, Pierce Brosnan. I mean, I haven't done enough Pierce Brosnan, but we should do some more here just to celebrate him, right? So, oh, one rises to meet a challenge. Uh, uh, I trusted you, Alec. Or something. Time to face gravity. That's great. Uh, one last screw. For England? No. For me. It's great stuff. And then, ornithology or something like that. Or um, uh, gosh, luckily I asked for it shaken or something like that. Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. Um, Ryan Harding, do a collab stream with James Bond Radio. I'd love. Oh my goodness, I'm totally. They're totally way beyond me. I love those guys. Those guys are brilliant. Um, they love Roger Moore so much. It's so wonderful. Ah, yeah. Um, rank the Bond commentaries. That's interesting. 10 Miles Outside. Hello. Let's see. Damn Fool. Cooper Glover 1972 says, "Dad's guys, what about John le Carre films like Spy Who Came In From the Cold? and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I love Tinker. I've mentioned it before. I was watching Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, the Alec Guinness, an episode last night. In fact, I love that. Oh, I love that so much. It was I don't want to spoil it too much. I'll just say just a little when he's talking to Jim Prito, and he says, Jim Prito's talking about what happened to him when he was in what is it, Sarat, and he says, Toby Esterhazy visited him, and he says, "Oh, here's £1,000 to add to your gratuity," and Alec Guinness's smiley says, "So Toby Esterhazy, what is it? What does he say? So Toby mentioned Tinker Tailor to you. However, did he get a hold of that?" That's great. That's a classic series because you have Jean-Luc Picard and Obi-Wan Kenobi in the same room. And so, I love it. And then, of course, you have like, Drax and Stromberg and Smiley's people as well. It's great. Grigorievich, right? And the oh gosh, yeah, great. I love that. And anyway, so we will. So it's now 9:24 where I am, so I can stay for a few more minutes. But we are done with the Die Another Day discussion here, and this is it for the Eon film series discussion, right? This is the last one we're gonna do For Your Eyes Only, the redo, but we already did that, so. Technically speaking, this is it. This is the last one in terms of the Eon production films. Wow, what a journey. Wow, it like time flies, right? Wow. Amazing. Time flies, much like 14 months in a Madonna song, right? This was I think about 14 months, right? I think. Maybe a little bit less, I'm not sure. My beard is not as big as Pierce Brosnan's, but still, wow. This was amazing. So thank you so much for this. I do want to say too, though, that once again, Damn Fool Idealistic Crusader, our dear friend, is doing the commentary tracks for all the films. So he's already like already way ahead in terms of that, and I think he's almost done. So keep on following him and his channel with the commentary tracks as well as other great videos. So the Bond series is still going on there and elsewhere, of course. So this is not the be all end all of Bond discussions, that's for sure. But this was so much fun. Wow, I enjoyed it. I think I was very this has a type of, how should I put it? You can really like to borrow the image from long hair Pierce Brosnan. This stuff really lets me let my hair down in a manner of speaking because I can just talk off the cuff and say essentially whatever comes into my mind. This is in terms of Bond, and so I do want to say that I'm not the biggest Bond expert. That's for sure. There's a lot that I don't know, but I do really want to I was so happy for the opportunity to show that I do love these films. I really do, and I've seen these films so many times. And so they just, I don't know what it is. It's like there are some films in your life where you just, when you grow up, you just see them, and so now you think about them and you never can recall exactly when you saw them for the first time. They've just always been around. The James Bond films up to like say Octopussy were like that for me, and so I just can't remember a time when I didn't see those films. And of course, the films that came subsequently when I was growing up and they were released, I can remember when I saw those, of course. But the ones that were, say, before I was born, the same thing. I can't remember a time when I didn't know those films. And so this was such a lovely opportunity just to share a little bit um, with that. And I think there's something like I maybe did I mention. I think back on some of the discussions and I think, oh gosh, I should have said that. I was planning to say this, but I didn't. There's one in particular. I don't know if I mentioned it the last time. If I mention it, please forgive me. But just in case I forgot to mention it, there's a scene in Octopussy where you go to the U.S. Air Base and it's like a celebration of the carnival is entering the airbase, because the whole thing about Octopussy, or the second half of that film anyway, is this whole plot about the bomb and the airbase. And so there's a scene, there's a quick shot of kids or someone or something, a parade or something, and there are these people wearing masks. And I could swear those are the exact same masks that were made by Cochran in the film Halloween 3, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Now, I'm not going to say too much about Halloween 3 Season of Witch for those of you who haven't seen it, but just let me just say that Halloween masks are very important, an important part of the plot of that film, and I could swear those are the same masks. I don't remember when was uh, when was Halloween 3 released? I forget exactly the year, but Octopussy was what, 83? I don't know which came first, but in any event, they look same or similar. I don't know. Maybe it's a wild coincidence or not. If not, that would be an interesting Bond plot, huh? Having a mask, gosh, that's what Stromberg or Drax should have done. They should have invested in Cochrane's mask company in order to fulfill their plot and just have the frequency adjusted from the Laparis or the satellite in the sky or something like that. That would have been an interesting plot device, and then it would be up to Bond to go through the masks or something like that, and fighting Cochrane. Oh, cool, yes. And then maybe fighting, and then Bond is fighting Cochrane, and Cochrane's looking up there, and he's like, that would be so cool. Right. Anyway, let's see. Yeah. Damien, thank you. 1982. Thank you very much. Yes, Zoran. Oh, I forget. So I'm sorry. What's the next? What's the next film? It's Never Say Never Again. Is that right? Sorry, I forgot to confirm that. Sorry about that. Is it Never Say Never Again? It's all right. Thank you very much. Never Say Never Again. Yes. Next time is Fatima. Right. Right on this paper. Yes. Uh, what a character. Fatima Blush. Wow. What a character. She's amazing. She is so amazing. And also Patachi, yes. The Patachi with the whole like that's just eyeballs just give me the creeps for some reason. And the snake, there's so many questions. How did that snake survive that whole thing, and I must eliminate all free radicals. Do be careful, James. And the whole thing, oh, your place or mine, oh, and the Spy Who Loved Me links, and it reminds you of the scene in Spy Who. Hello, oh, I have a message for you. Oh, I think you just delivered it. So that's a sort of maybe a continuation, unofficially anyway, of that. And of course, oh, the game is called Domination. Ah! Oh, can't wait! I can't wait! And the whole thing of the tango, huge tango, da 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 da. Right? Oh, it's great! Can't wait for Never Say Never Again. That's a favorite. I saw that in the theater. When I was a kid, I saw it, and I don't remember everything about it, but I saw it because my parents took me because they wanted to see the next James Bond film. So I remember seeing that in the theater. I have a vivid memory of seeing the 007's, the dun 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 at the very beginning, dun dun dun. So that's and Talia Shire, I think, was right because of the connection there. She was a consultant, I think, or she's credited as a consultant. So it's great stuff. And oh yes, yeah. Um, that's such a great ah, yeah. And I never had the Never Say Never Again soundtrack, but do they have that dance theme, that sort of kind of kinky sounding that's one I hope they do, but that's a really interesting one. And then and Pat Roach is there. Yes, thank you. Yeah, Damien says Pat Roach is there. And the Lanny Hall music video, yes, and she's wearing the suit. Yes, yes. A man who says never, or something like that. And then I remember there's a bit at the beginning with a knife, and then just that shocked me when I was a kid. I was so shocked, like, what the heck is going on here in this film? And yeah, I'm looking forward to that very much. So Damfool says the Never Say Never Again soundtrack sadly only got an LP in Japan. I missed the expanded CD, which is quite. Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. I didn't know that either. Yeah. And what's that? That poor guy, right? This thing is like right. Oh, the great scene. I love. Yeah, yeah. um. Anyway, yeah, yeah. uh. Yeah, but we'll talk about Never Say Never Again. I have fond memories of that film. I know it's probably considered um, a bit maybe minor, or maybe there's some criticisms against it. So I get that. So we'll talk about that. So, oh, Ronald Lacey. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, um, there's a great. I love how he delivers the line in Raiders of the Lost Ark when after he's revealed that great coat hanger. By the way, I don't know. Does that coat hanger exist? I'm talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? That coat hanger, like. Da-da-da-da. Now, what shall we talk about? Ah, gosh, that's great. If anyone knows any information about that Raiders of the Lost Ark coat hanger that he uses, please let me know. I want one. I want one. I want, oh, gosh. Anyway, um, what, Kevin, yes, yes. Um, I was always fascinated by the way that he rides underneath the truck, and right, that's so dangerous. Yes. Um, yeah. Always overdressing for the wrong occasions. Yes. Um, yeah, what a great. Um, yeah, what a great, great character. Yeah. Very minor character in that film, to be perfectly right, in terms of running time, but just made such an impression. Obviously, for so many reasons. Um, but also kudos to Paul Freeman as well. Right. Belloc. Belloc. I can't do Harrison Ford very well, but I love Belloc. Belloc. Yes. Anyway, so yeah. Where were we? Ron? Someone mentioned Ron Lacey. Okay, yes, yes. So yes, great. So we'll do the yes Raiders of the Lost Ark one day, but in the meantime, we will do Never Say Never Again. Algernon, yes, and also there's a joke in that film which I I don't want to say was copied in Goldeneye. You know, the whole thing with the inhaler and the sandwich, but it's very similar anyway. So so as I wrote, they're very excited for Never Say Never Again. Me too. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it immensely. And so very exciting indeed. Very exciting. Okay, so let's see. Any last minute comments on Die Another Day before we call it a day? um, let's see. Maybe is there any more Jinx your mama jokes? You can last call. Anything is okay. And any jokes about the Big Bang Theory? You're welcome to do it. Anything about I don't know, punchlines or sparkling personalities or anything, you're welcome to do it. Anything at all. You can end with your favorite Die Another Day quote if you want. Um, Time to face destiny. So you live to die. So I live to die another day. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Damien. That's wonderful. Yes. Super. I hate snakes. I hate them. Yes. Okay. Yes, that's one too. Yes. Mojito. Adios, senor. Thank you. Yeah. Right. Again, how did that snake survive and Never Say Never Again? I'm gonna have to watch it again. I still don't know. I still don't know. That's amazing. That is an amazing snake. Um, yeah. Okay. Plenty of time to sleep when you're dead. Yes, yes. Yes, Joseph Kessel's here. Hello. In a weird way, I really loved it. No, great. No, it's not weird. It's great. Well done. If you love this movie, celebrate it, my friend. Well done. Good for you. Good for you. This is such a fun film. So wonderful job. Thank you. It's so ridiculous that I love it so much. No, that's the one of the best reasons in the world. So well done, Joseph. Well done. Um, yes, I want to listen to the Clash now. But anyway. That's Alfred Molina. Yes, that's right. Yes, yes. And then at the end there, poor guy. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. And then of course there's the rolling meatball at the end there. So, but anyway, and then. Right, I can't do Belloc. I really can't do Belloc. I guess the only Belloc I can do. Oh, that's the only thing I can do. But anyway. Sorry about that. So, um, yeah. All right. It's time to. It's time for me to go. So thank you so much, Chiggers. I feel like watching this film, even though I just did 2 days ago. Please do. Yes. Um, let's see. Oh, damn. So from Doc Ock. Yes, yes. I love Spider-Man 2. By the way, I just saw Spider-Man 3. Um, again, I saw that in the theater. By the way, Spider-Man 3. That was so many people laughing. The Peter Parker MJ scene in Central Park there was incredible. But anyway, Sophella Claude says, I guess you could say that for me, Mr. Bone, I will die another day. Timothy says, quite a view. Too bad it's lost on everyone else. Yes. Saved by the Bell. Well done, my friends. Well done. All right, my friends. So I will leave you. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well. And please keep on watching a lot of great, great movies. I will leave you with the look that Pierce Brosnan gives to Graves at the end of the Blade fight. That's that look of anger, and yet the great chin acting from Pierce Brosnan. Again, it's not perfect, so I please apologies, accept my apologies, but thank you very much, my friends, and cheers.